Hello everybody, hope you're doing well and welcome back to another video. In today's video I'm going to be going through my worst books of 2023. I've got a list of 20 and I'll just go down in order, from 20 being the least worst and 1 being the worst. But I thought I'd quickly first of all just go through my DNFs. The first was The Boot Camp by Kate Harrison. I only really DNF'd this because I wasn't really connected to the characters. It was suited more to like an older female audience, and it was just on track to be like a 3 stars, probably maybe even less than that, I'm not sure, but yeah, it wasn't for me. And then I DNF'd We by Yevgeny Zamatin. Similarly, I just wasn't intrigued by the characters or the story, and it was just probably going to be a 3 or less. But then we come on to a book that I have a passionate hatred for, and that is Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. I hate this story. I just think it was just so stupid, and the characters were just not for me. The writing, oh my god, the writing is literal utter trash, and I'm sorry if you love it, but for me, I thought it was just pathetic. And the parts that are like written from the guy's perspective, I cannot and do not care what his name was, but they were like in the middle of the text, like it was in the middle of the book, and he kept on saying my Sophie or whatever the girl's name is. He kept on saying it over and over again. He was just so like obsessed, and they were just so like, oh my god, it was so bad. It was just like sentence stop, like a tiny little sentence stop, and I just absolutely hated it. And yeah, I DNF'd it. I think I DNF'd it at maybe like 30 to 40%, I'm not sure, but yep. No, I despise that book. And then in a similar vein is also Lot by Brian Washington, and I hate the fact that I hate this book with such like a vitriol, because I don't want to hate queer books, but this was terrible. It was so bad. I think I DNF'd this at maybe like 60-ish%. It's not even a long book, like it's quite short, and I was listening to the audiobook and I think it had maybe like 2 and a bit hours left, but I was literally just like, I cannot physically listen to this anymore. It was just so terrible. This is like, it's like a novella, and then split into this novella is these little like short stories, all surrounding like different people and characters and like families and stuff in like this lot in like Houston, and they're all a bit like weird, a bit sci-fi, a bit horror, a bit whatever, what have you. But it was just, oh my god, I hated the characters so much, and some of them you're meant to like empathize with, and I could not in one single bit empathize with these characters because I just despised them. I think the pacing was absolutely terrible, and it just did not make sense at all. Like, you keep getting like taken out of the other story, and I just don't know why it was done. Like, just do short stories or do a novella. Do you know what I mean? And it jumps like sections that you kind of need expansion on, and things was just no, not for me, not one bit, love. Get away from me right now. I hated it. And then finally I DNF'd Marple, which is a collection of short stories by various people, so like but like with Miss Marple being the main character in like murder mysteries. I read like the first one and like nearly all of the second one, and I think I went to go on to the third one, and I just was not here for it. I might try it again maybe in a couple years when I'm more interested in like that genre, but I just was not here for it. I just think it was just boring, and I didn't like them, so I DNF'd that, thankfully. But yeah, so that's my little DNFs, and now I'll be going on to the worst ones. From like 20 to 8, I don't really have much to say about it. It's just more just like, I didn't really like it. It was meh. And yeah, I'm just gonna say now, I'm probably gonna swear in this video because some of these books I fucking hate. with a violent passion. But anywho, let's go on to it with number 20, and that is Head Full of Ghost by Paul Tremblay. Yeah, just it's sort of like an Exorcist knockoff. I just didn't care for it. I just didn't care for it. Then we have a book that I'm really sad I disliked, and that is Last Words from Montmartre by Chu Miaojin, translated from Chinese by Ari Larissa Heinrich. This is so sad. It's such a tragic story, because in some ways this book can be viewed as the author's like suicide note. It's possibly autofiction, we don't know, but basically it's sort of like these letters present between a protagonist, which I believe changes, and these other like women in her life, and just about sort of like a love affair that like dwindles, and her descent into mental illness and suicidal initiations. And it's not a spoiler because literally it says on here that the author died by suicide, like literally I think maybe a couple days or something after finishing this book, but she never actually said anything specifically like I want this to be like my final masterpiece like some other East Asian authors have done. So we will never really know why she did it, and if this is it, then it is a very sad book, and I did not like this at all. I just think the way things were just done was just very bad. But what is annoying is that there is quite a lot of things that are actually really good in here, and like there's like quite a lot of parts I like starred and things that I related to, because it's about like growing up queer in a sense in some ways. But there's also so many things that I literally hated, and I like wrote in a marginalia about like I don't know how to feel, I'm angry, and just yeah, it's a very annoying book, and I really hate the fact that this was her final thing she created, because she could have been such a literary talent. And I still really want to read her other book, Notes from a Crocodile, I believe it's called, and I'm scared now to read that, and I don't know if I do want to read it after reading this, but I probably will. But yeah, this is just it's really annoying. I didn't, yeah, no, I'm sorry, but I did not like that book. Then we have a book I literally just finished like a couple days ago, Beast in the Shadows by Edogawa Rampo, translated from Japanese by Ian Hughes. This is sort of like a murder mystery-ish, not really, I don't know. It's about trying to investigate this crime writer who's sending these threatening letters to this like housewife, and the main character is like an author himself, and it's just him trying to like work it out in a way. This was fine for about like 40%, and then it just went downhill. I didn't really like it. I didn't like how things sort of were put together. It's quite long-winded, even though it's quite short, and I didn't really like the romanticness that was sort of like building. I just didn't think it was very good or appropriate. And once again, this is another East Asian book that has suicide in it, and it just did not need it. I think it was handled really, really badly, and I just don't understand why so many East Asian books have to have suicide in them. But yeah, I did not like that. Then we have The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. The main reason I didn't really like this is just that it was just very, very boring, and I literally can't really remember anything much that happened in it, and I only read it 2 months ago. Yeah, it's basically this psychologist woman comes to see her niece at Cambridge, and a girl has been murdered, and the psychologist woman, she thinks it's definitely this Professor Edward Foster, that's what I remember his name, and his like posse of these young women that are obsessed with him called the Maidens. And it's just basically trying to like work it out, and it's like, I would remember there was like lots of like red herrings and stuff, but I literally cannot really remember anything from it, and I did not like it. Then we have another book that I finished on the last day of December, and that is The Night She Disappeared by Lisa Jewell. I'm gonna have a whole video review of this because I have a lot to say. This started so well, and I was so intrigued. It was slow,
but basically we're following like 3 POVs on 3 people: Kim, Tallulah and Sophie. Kim is the mother of Tallulah, and her daughter goes missing one night, and then that's sort of like one time frame, and it's her just like trying to deal with like where is she, like the initial investigation. Then we have Tallulah, which is like sort of like the year before, and it sort of comes up to date as well. Both of these actually do come up to date into this timeline, and it's just her like with her newborn baby and just trying to like get back into like normal teenage life, and she meets like this new girl Scarlett, and that sort of thing. And then we have Sophie, who is this most present timeline, which is like a year after Kim's one sort of, and she arrives in the village and she sees this sign to dig here, and it's like opens up the investigation, and she sort of like does some like sleuthing and stuff herself.
That's basically what I'm gonna say about the plot, but so like basically these teenagers go missing and it's just trying to work out what happened. So yeah, I think like the tension and anxiety and claustrophobia that was growing was actually done really well. But then like the last 20%, Lisa, what the fuck? I'm sorry, who? I'm sorry, why? How the fuck did this happen? Like, it just went from like literally like a 4 to 5 star, literally just down straight away. And just things did not make sense at all. Like, I'm sorry, who? Why? I'm going to do a whole spoiler-filled video soon, and I'm just going to explain all the things that did not make sense in this book that like happened near the end, and it was just so unsatisfying, and I literally just like, it makes me hate it, and I think I might hate this book more the more I keep pondering on it, because the ending was just so irritating, and Miss Jewel, why? Literally, why? Anywho, we go on to the next one, and that is Mary, or The Birth of Frankenstein by Anne Eekhout. This is translated from Dutch, but I cannot remember the translator's name. It was a missed opportunity. I feel like if you're trying to focus on Mary Shelley and her bisexuality and that sort of part of it, then do more with it, you know. Don't do what she did. It's quite basic, and I guess it's maybe not the main plot point, but the description I read before listening to the audiobook made it out that like she was going to focus on Shelley's bisexuality, and I just didn't really like this book much at all, really. It was quite slow. It's written well, it's very slow, and yeah, I didn't like it. That's what I have to say, really. Then we have the first of my 3 books that were part of my Bookish World Cup series I need to get back onto, but that is All Days and Nights by Peter Stamm. This is translated from German by Michael Hoffman. This is the Swiss entry. Honestly, I sort of have forgotten what this is about. All I remember is that it's slow, it's boring, it's nothing really much happens really, and I didn't like it, and that's all I really have to say about that. So yeah, that can go away. Then we have a manga, Boys of the Dead by Tomita Duji. This is like sort of little short stories, but they are all interconnected, and they're set in this like post-apocalyptic Japan, where like zombies are on the rise, and we follow like different couples, and I think the artwork is good. Like, I like how like they're all made to look very washed out and tired and like bedraggled, but like they also have sort of like a love for each other, even though that love is a bit questionable. Yeah, but I don't think the horror is done well enough, and I don't think the romance is done well at all, really. It's quite uncomfortable because he sort of blurs the lines between like consent and legality in the characters' ages, even though I know at the end he says that they are all of age, but I don't think so. Sorry, I did not think that, and I did not like this. Yeah, it made me very uncomfortable. It was unrewarding, and just, yeah, I would not recommend this manga really at all. So yeah, that can go away. Then we have a poetry collection, How to Maintain Eye Contact by Robert Wood Lin. I read this as an arc. I literally cannot for the life of me remember what the poems are about. I should have looked up again before making this video, but anywho, all I remember is that it didn't stick with me and I think they were boring and I didn't really like them, and I think I gave this like 2 stars ish when I first read it, and yeah, it's just I don't know what to say about it, honestly. I didn't like it, so take that as you will. Then we have 2 Paul Tremblay books. The first, like the one that's a bit better, is Cabin at the End of the World. The only reason I like this a bit more is that there's a queer family. That's literally the only reason I like it. Only like a bit. Basically, this family is in a cabin at the end of the world, in a way, like they're all cut off, and then he's like, people come and they're like, you have to do so and so, or like the whole world's gonna die, and what ensues is just sort of like the tormenting of this family. I did not like it. I did not get on board with the storyline, the plot. I didn't mind the characters. They was okay. There was a saving grace, in all honesty. But yeah, on the whole, I didn't really like it, and it was very meh. Very, very meh. And then the next one is The Pallbearers Club, also by Paul Tremblay. This was just, I don't know what to say. I didn't like it. It's sort of horror-ish, it's vampiric. I didn't like the characters, I didn't like how things fit together and what really went on. But yeah, that's really all I have to say about it, is that I didn't like it. It was a little bit boring. So yep. Now we're into the bottom 10 with number 9, Dear Evan Hansen, the novel by Val Emick. I read this after watching the movie adaptation, and I just was very unimpressed. I didn't like it. The story, it's a hard one to ponder on, and I think the book, it fleshed out some parts, but it also just, it flattened others, and on the whole, I just think it was quite a unrewarding reading experience. If you've listened to the song The Anonymous Ones, that is sung by Amanda something in the film, that song, like that fleshes out her character like so much more than what is in this book. Like in the book, she's literally just a high achiever. That is literally it. But in that song, there is so much more to her, and I adore that song. I listen to it probably like every 3 days. I just don't understand how they're meant to be the same character. Like, what on earth? Also, I just don't really like the idea of how Evan sort of like takes Connor's story and puts words in his mouth. Like, you can make an argument that what he did is not as bad because of the impact on other people, but at the same time, Connor took his own life and he never was able to choose any of this. So yeah, it's quite a sad book, and I didn't like it. Yeah. Then we have 8, When He Beckons by Hallie Sterling. I read this so early in the year. I don't really remember what happened. It's sort of like smutty, and I hate reading smut. And the blurb did not describe it like that, so I was like, why? Why? But anywho, it's basically like these 2 guys, and they sort of just fall in love and do the hanky panky devil's tango and stuff like that. And yeah, I guess the saving grace was that they're sort of like, they are mature, like they're more mature than most books in this genre, and that was alright. The only reason I didn't DNF it is that it was literally really, really short, and it was like a novella. That was an arc, so I just thought I'd finish it and, you know, put my review out there. But yeah, I probably would have DNF'd if this had been any longer than what it was, and I can't remember how long it was anyway. So yeah, that was that. Then we have November 9 by Colleen Hoover. this is the last of my 2.5 star reads, and this is the worst of it. I did not like this book. I did not like the characters, really. I didn't like the story. I didn't like how things fit together. I just think it was very unbelievable. I hated the main guy, the male like romantic partner thing. I'm like, no, just like no, no, you're a horrible person. Like, how can you do this? And like, you're still in her life trying to do like get with her. And oh my fucking god, the way he's like constantly thinking about, oh, I want to know what her panties are. I want to like see her panties and all this shit. I'm just like, Liz, literally just shut the fuck up and fuck off. I'm sorry, I cannot remember your name. I don't care. Fuck off. And he was just so irritating and like sort of possessive as well. I just didn't like the fact that it was sort of like being romanticized in a way, and I just no. I think she does have some things to say in this book that was okay, but on the whole, not for me. Bye bye. Then we have a book that I wanted to like, but alas I didn't, and that is Different for Boys by Patrick Ness. I really did not like this book. I have a whole video on it where I just basically say my thoughts, and then how one single song that I got from reading another review of this book is just like a similar story but done so much better. The song is Either by Fancy Haygood, and literally I love that song. I love him. I've like listened to so many more songs since finding him now. And honestly, do not read this book. Just listen to that song. Honestly, you don't need to read this book. But anyway, basically, it's about these three guys. Well, four, I think, actually. One is like gay, and he's been doing stuff as practice with this other guy who's openly homophobic, and also in their friend group is this like soccer, football, rugby, yeah, and that's literally his whole personality. And then this other one that I don't think it's actually his friend, but there's like this other guy that's like quite like outwardly like stereotypically gay boy, and the friend of the main characters is always like picking on him, and then it sort of like goes along, and then it's sort of like a climax, and yeah, but I just really did not like this book. I think all of the characters are sort of like caricatures of like typical like guys. The messages, what there were, even though it's very short and they could not be expanded on, I don't think were very good like at all. I think the artwork personally was very unappealing. I think it was very, very messy, ugly, and did not add one single bit to the story and plot. Like, this literally could have been so much more shorter if it was taken out, and it would have been exactly the same. Or what Patrick Ness probably should have done is forget about all the artwork and just fleshed out these characters and actually added more to it, and then it might have been more of a decent read. But that what he was trying to say in this little bit, I don't think was portrayed any good anyway. But yeah, and there's also like words are blacked out, and I'm just like, what the fuck, like why, like what's the point in this? It's sort of like curse words and like sex words, and I'm like, the target audience, love, already know all this shit. Like, you don't need to do it. Like, you don't need to black out these words. They literally add not a single thing to the story or like the reading experience. It's literally just felt like an added gimmick for some reason. I don't know why. And I just was like, why? So yeah, that's that book. I did not like it. I wouldn't recommend it, and I think it's just an unhelpful portrayal of queer people in contemporary society. And yeah, just listen to Either. Just listen to that song. Don't bother with this book. Then we have Summer by Laurie Lee. I've given this to my mum because I was like, she might want to read about the Gloucestershire like countryside parts of the book, but I asked her where it is, and I think she's lost it. So honestly, I honestly do not care. Like, I was gonna unhaul it, but yeah, that is just, I don't know. It's Laurie Lee's like memoir in a way. It's like snippets from his bigger work, Cider with Rosie, I believe, about his like him growing up in the Gloucestershire like countryside, drawn different summers of his like early childhood. And yeah, I think the writing of like the nature and stuff is okay. But I don't like to say it, but I just did not like this child. I think he was just not a very nice child. I just didn't get on board with him. Also there's sort of like some like racist parts in this book that I just I did not like. I know it was written in like the 50s, but that doesn't excuse it. And yeah, even though it's like really short, I just wanted to DNF it literally every single time I picked it up, and I don't know why I didn't. I just thought like oh, it's short, I can just continue it. But for why? Like, why did I do that when I literally could have just read something else that would have been so much more better? So yeah, I would recommend this. I'm not going to read anything else probably by Laurie Lee, and I didn't like him, so yeah. Now we're coming into the worst 4, and this book I hate. I hate this book so much. This is Alice at the Fire by Jon Fosse, I believe you pronounce it. This is translated from Norwegian by Damien Searles. Look at the size of that. I hated this. Like literally, it's, how long is it? It is like 60 something, 70 something pages, I believe. This literally could have been like 10 pages long. The same fucking things that happen are explained again and again and again and again and again by these 3 different characters, and they literally explain the same thing over and over and over. I'm just like, Jon, what the actual fuck? Like why? Like why? This is one of the most annoying books I've ever read. I despised the reading experience. The story is fine. Like the story is okay. It's about this this woman that thinks she sees like the image of her husband like so many years before, when he went out onto the like the fjord and didn't come back. And then also it's like sort of like his like history, like past people in his family, as well as like his great grandmother Alice, and that sort of thing. And like it was fine. Like I liked the like the Norwegian parts, and like the actual story was all right, but my golly gosh, the way it's portrayed it's just so bad. Literally, okay, that there's like, it's paragraphs that just, it's this one whole sentence that goes on and on and on, and that's actually a mild one, to be honest. There's ones that are like literally like so long, and for what? For what? I hated reading this so much. The only reason I finished it is because it's for my Bookies World Cup, and this was just so frustrating. No, I don't think I'm ever going to read anything else by this author unless it's formatted normally, like with actual punctuation and full stops and sentences that don't run over 5 fucking pages. And yeah, bye-bye. I did not like that book. That was a 1.75, so let's see how the others go. Now we have my 1.5 read, and that is Burying Eva Flores by Jennifer Alsaver. My gosh, this book is so freaking problematic, and it was literally published in like, I think 2022 or 2023, and it is just so, oh gosh, it's so bad. No, not for me, love. Get the fuck away. Basically, it follows Sophia, I believe, and her and this other girl Eva, like they don't get on basically, and then Sophia's like friend Morgan gives her like this diary, like this journal thing, and apparently when she writes in it, things start coming true. And then they also have another friend, Ethan, who I believe is gay, but I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, he just sort of like wants to leave the town. And then there's also Dylan, who is Sophia's brother. He was so shit. He was wronged. Justice for Dylan. And literally nobody is talking about this. I'm literally like the only person that's talking about the injustice that was put upon Dylan in this book. But yeah, that's all in my spoiler filled video, which you can check if you wish to. But basically, I don't really care to talk about this book's plot. Yeah, no, I just think it was so problematic, and I despised every single character apart from Dylan, and he was just so wronged. He was so wronged. Also, I listened to the audiobook, and the narrator who does Sophia's parts, but when she's like speaking Dylan's like parts, like text on email messages and things, she does it in this like really like disgusting, like stupid person like voice, and Dylan has like learning disabilities and problems like that, and she does this like really like typical like dumb person voice. I'm not going to do it because it's disgusting, and I just think that it was just so terrible and just was so unnecessary to do that. Like literally just make your voice deeper. You don't have to like, it just felt like they was making fun of him, and this Alsaver was not helping either in the way she plotted this book and the way things fitted together, and especially that like the bit at the end. I just was like, no. And just like, it's very unsatisfactory when bad things happen and then the baddies get away with it in a way, and it's just so unhelpful, and just it's just a terrible book. I absolutely hated it. And yeah. Next we have number 2, which is a 1.25 read, same as the number 1, and that is The Discomfort of Evening by Marieke Lucas Reineveld, translated from the Dutch by Michelle Hutchinson. Or yeah, this is my Dutch entry for the Bookish World Cup, and this was fucking crap. This was fucking terrible. I fucking hate this book with every fucking fibre of my fucking being. I don't swear on Book Talk or BookTube as well, but my lord above me, this was fucking shit. I hated this. Basically, the story is we follow Yaz, and she sort of basically wishes that her rabbit can be saved, and like God, like maybe like take someone else, take her brother for example. So basically her brother dies, and I think the only saving grace of this book is the way Ryan Neville like talks about like grief and how it impacts this family, and just like going forward, like especially the mother and the father, and yeah, but basically the mother and father like just become so distant, and the mum sort of like deals with like mental health problems and like eating disorder, and just sort of like a descent into like suicidal ideations, and the father just becomes really just like absent and a bit violent, and just I just no just no. But then basically we also find Yaz and her younger sister I don't fucking care, and her older brother Obe, and he is one of the most fucking despicable fucking characters I've ever fucking come across. I hated him. And just basically the sort of like them going around is an unnecessary amount of like body functions and body producing parts and bodily fluids and all that fun jazz, you know, like shit and vomit and bile and piss, and it's disgusting. It's literally disgusting, and there is so much put in here, and literally I do not fucking know why, because there's no crux to it. There's nothing for it. Like, I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, who? Why? I'm like, why? It's disgusting. It's literally disgusting, and there's sort of like incestual sort of parts, and there's so much freaking animal cruelty and death, and I despise reading about animal cruelty at the best of times. But when there's no justice, when it's just sort of brushed aside, burn. That's what I'm gonna say, because that book can literally fuck off. I just threw it on the floor. I fucking hate it with every fibre of my fucking being. I hate that book. I hate it. Anywho, now we're going on to the book that I hate even more than that. And that is the fucking terrible piece of shit that is Herland by Charlotte Perkin Gilmans. I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, who? How in the fucking world is this presented as a feminist book? How is the subtitle A Lost Feminist Utopia? I'm sorry, what? Since when has eugenics and racism and ableism and misogyny and sexism been part of feminism? What? Who? Basically, these three guys are sort of like stranded in like this place, and they walk through the mountains and they come to Herland. And Herland is this place where it's just all women, and these women, literally their whole identity, the only thing they really care about is like the fact that women can have babies and reproduce, and literally that is it. That is their, like, they literally reduce women just down to this one bodily function, and it is so fucking crap. I fucking hated these characters, especially, I can't remember his name, do not fucking care, Terry, I believe, or something like that. That misogynistic, homophobic, racist fucking piece of shit, chauvinistic pig of a man is literal, like, I don't know where I was going, but basically I hate him with every single part and atom of my body. Do I despise that man? And the others aren't much good either. The ones you're meant to like, I'm just like, you're the best of an extremely bad bunch, and that is not saying much, love. That is not saying much. And I hated it. I think if you want to read this book, read it for maybe like a like maybe read it from like a sociology perspective, and just trying to work out like the time, like the feminism of like the time it was written or something, maybe like that. I'm not sure, but yeah, don't read it for fun, because it is not fun. Also, the writing is utter fucking crap. It is so terrible, and it is just so basic and just crap. It's crap. I have a whole like rant video on Herland, so if you do want to check that out, be sure to do so, because I want people to know my hatred of this book. And it's not even long, you know, like the audiobook I think was like 5 hours, but my golly gosh, it just fucking dragged. It was just so terrible. I absolutely hated it. Literally, I hate it. Anywho, that is the end of today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Tell me what your worst books of the year was. I did not like any of these 20 I told you about, really, and hopefully there is less to talk about in 2024, but we shall see. So I was going to say, Herland is not only the worst book I read in 2023, it is the worst book I've ever read. It is the worst piece of like text on a page I've ever read. I hate it with a burning passion in my soul. Yep. Hope you have a nice morning, even night, wherever you are in the world, and I shall see you very soon for the best books of the year. Bye.